Hi everyone, this is Jim. Welcome to this Blitz chess postmortem, a postmortem of my Blitz game number 369. My opponent kicked off with e4, and I decided kind of on the spur of the moment to play d5. I was a little bit rusty, I haven't played this one in a while. E takes d5 and knight f6, so far so good. And d4 the main move, and then I recouped the pawn. Of course, if white tries to hold on to the pawn with a move like c4, I play c6 and go into a gambit, which is quite good for black. So this d4 move is one of the principal ways to play, and that's the way I play it myself as white. So knight here, and then now either c4 immediately or knight f3 followed by c4 are two main ways to play. Knight f3 was played, and I play the move e6. So let's back up. You know, e6 is probably a mistake in this position. It blocks in my light squared bishop, so it slows down my development. I eventually develop it out to b7 here. I play b6 and play bishop b7. But one idea is to develop it immediately and then play e6. The other idea is to go with g6 here, deferring the question of what to do with this bishop till later, and g6 and developing this dark squared bishop first to bishop g7. So either of those would have been fine, or even bishop f5. Better than what I played, e6 blocking in the bishop. And now white gets a pretty decent edge here. So c4, kicking the knight, drops back to f6. You see, actually we sort of transposed into a position we could have gotten into it's a line from where white plays c4 first. So we're up to 7 games in the database. Not a whole lot. So knight to c3, natural developing move. And now I played knight to c6. Now there's only a few games in the database here, but it appears like the immediate b6 is the main move in this position. Also recommended by the chess engine. But, you know, considering the position I am in, this is not such a bad move. Bishop to g5, pinning my knight, and now bishop to e7. And so we're just out of the opening book at this point. But white has maintained a substantial edge through this after my initial inaccuracy with this e6 move. So bishop to e2 is just developing. I castle. He castles. Keeping his edge all the way through this. h6 to kick the bishop. The bishop drops back. And now b6 finally. Gotta develop this bishop somehow, and it looks like it didn't have much of a future on d7. So bishop e7 looks like a good square. And, you know, I'm fighting my way back to something near a playable position. He goes rook e1, bishop e7, rook c1, centralizing his pieces. So maybe that's not the most accurate way to play it. Queen d2. Sometimes you have to play a little bit more actively, not just follow the rote centralization idea. Also, it's not clear if this rook belongs really on c1 or d1. So lifting the queen up out of the way to d2, connecting the rooks, and leaving the question of where the a rook really belongs till later, to be settled later. But it makes a lot of sense really to put it over on the d file and push forward with this d pawn. This guy is going to be it's going to have a strong break move, d4 to d5 at some point, and that's always in the position. So you want to do something about that here. I was trying to erase those arrows. Yeah, this pawn break from d4 to d5 is something that's in the position, and so queen d2, rook d1 is maybe the best way to support that. So rook c1, and maybe I have a reasonable position here. But it was difficult to play, mainly because I'm so cramped. I'm all down here on these 3 rows. All my pieces are developed, but white just has a lot more space, and I need to trade off some pieces. So I play knight h7. The engine likes that, knight h7, trying to provoke some trades. Instead of trading, he drops his bishop back to g3. And now bishop d6 is recommended, once again trying to trade. I tried knight g5. And it has the right idea, but he could play, and he did play actually, d5 immediately. Yeah, d5 immediately is quite strong. So that's why it would have been better to play bishop d6 and get these guys traded off, leave the knight here. Okay, so that's a bit of a mistake because of this move d5, which he played. And I just got lucky here. He didn't follow up. I was expecting c takes d5. Just makes this knight awkward. I have to find a place for it and where is it going. So let's just show what might have happened if he'd taken with the pawn. And it's very thematic. I mean, this is an isolated pawn, but you really shouldn't think of it this way. In this particular position, this pawn is really grabbing a lot of space for white and pushing my pieces around. So it's a strength rather than a weakness in this case. So the engine is recommending knight to a5, okay, and then following up with an exchange on g5. That's what I was expecting. And then b4, kicking the knight again. The knight is trapped over here. Did I have another move than knight to a4? It just doesn't have many good squares. I mean, it's just not very appealing to knight b4. The engine is suggesting now. Knight b4, a3. Knight takes. Yeah, let's check this line. So knight b4, a3, kicking the knight, throwing in this check, which is nice. I take that with tempo. Hang on a second, not that one. Oh no, knight takes d5, trying to grab the pawn. Isn't this going to lose a piece? Well, let's see how this works out. Bishop to a6, trying to distract the bishop from the defense of the knight. And now knight takes f3 or bishop takes a6, either one. Say bishop takes a6. And knight takes d5. I've gained a pawn. He's hitting my c pawn. Okay, I can throw a knight takes f3. Queen takes. And now, yeah, there's multiple threats here. This bishop is under attack. This pawn is under attack. Bishop to g5 is recommended. If I trade bishop to d6, bishop takes, queen takes, and knight takes c7 check. Yeah, he still gets this pawn here. I can't defend it. And when he takes that pawn, it also forks these guys. Yeah, so white gets his pawn back with and wins material in that line. So I have to play bishop to g5. And now rook takes c7. He gets his pawn back, and he's just invading with all his pieces. Looks like he's threatening to just collapse my position on f7 here. So that would all be good for white. So I was fortunate when he took back in this position. He took back with the knight, and that leaves me in the game here. So knight takes d5. I throw in knight takes f3 check, getting rid of one of my pieces. Bishop takes f3, and now bishop d6, trying to trade off another piece, still trying to ease my cramped position. And he should just follow up with b4. This looks like a more space-gaining move, and once again maybe targeting this knight. This knight can get chased away. There's some threats on not that diagonal, threats on this long diagonal here that I have to be careful about. So all in all, a very uncomfortable position for black. So the second mistake my opponent made, shortly after his first one actually, was to take here on c7. So there's probably some tactic here. He imagined, say, bishop takes, an exchange of queens, and then grabbing the piece here. But that doesn't work, because after bishop takes, after an exchange of queens, I take back with the bishop, and I just stay a piece up for a pawn. He's gained a pawn, but I've gained a piece. And you see this is pretty clearly indicating a score of -2. So I'm winning from here on out. And he's paused at this point. I edited this part of the video, but he stopped and thought for about 3 minutes. I mean, queen takes d8, the technically best move according to the engine, is just hopeless. I mean, it goes into an endgame a piece down. So he tried this tricky move, queen to a4, making things a little bit interesting. And I played the right move, bishop takes g3. I mean, he's threatening to win this knight, and I guess this bishop is not under threat, but there are threats of chasing my queen around, so I felt like it was important to get rid of this bishop here right away, so the queen wouldn't be overloaded trying to defend everything. And so he had to take. I thought he might try grabbing the knight here, but I guess this doesn't work. Right, this is the line I was saying. Bishop takes here. You know, he's grabbed a piece, I've grabbed a piece, and now I try to escape with check. And if the king takes, then I have this check here, and I get the piece back. So that was the line I was thinking about. But his king doesn't have to take. His king could go to f1, But then I guess I stay a piece up. I can just finish trading. Queen to d3 check, it says, but just taking here is also good. I just stay a piece up because his king is no longer threatening my bishop. Okay, so one last try here. If after bishop takes h2, if the king had gone to h1 to maintain pressure on my bishop, then bishop takes c6, hitting his queen. Queen takes c6, and now I can just retreat my bishop. Yeah, bishop to f4. Okay, and I stay a piece up in all lines. I wasn't entirely sure about that. It's kind of a complicated position. So after bishop takes g3, he took back the bishop, which is the best move, it turns out. And now it's pretty simple. I just defend everything with queen c7. The engine likes rook c8 there, but queen c7 is good enough. Yeah. Rook c3 he played. So trying to, excuse me, maybe activate his rooks, get something going. Rook f to e8. Yeah, I just centralize my pieces at this point. And he goes over here to d1. He doesn't want to trade anything. So I go over here. Goes all the way over there. So I gain central files, and now I have a place to move my knight to. So I go knight to d4. Cancel that. I go knight to d4. That was e5. Go knight to d4. And now, once again, he wants to avoid trade, so he goes bishop g4. But I can play f5 here, kick the bishop around. I'm also threatening, by the way, knight to e2, check, forking two rooks on the king. So he's got to keep an eye on that square. And I play this knight e2 check anyway, just to trade off some pieces, so he couldn't avoid the trades. And he tries grabbing here. And already, yeah, I didn't notice this right away. I already have the move rook a8 trapping his queen. So but I threw in this move first, which is just as good because this forces a response. He has to defend g2. He plays f3, and now I have rook a8, although queen c5 check apparently is even stronger. Let's check this out. Queen c5 check, new variation, and it's a mate in 5. Okay, well, it's always cool to see these mates. How can he escape the check? Okay, if he comes to f1, it's checkmate immediately, so he's got to go to the h file somewhere. Then what's the mate here? Queen to f2. Threatening to mate on g2. So he defends that with rook g1. And now queen takes g3, grabbing this pawn, leaving the bishop hanging. So how about if the queen grabs the bishop? What's the mate threat? The mate threat is here, queen to h4 mate. Okay, so let's back up. So are there any ways? Okay, so his only way to stop this is queen to b8, which just sacrifices the queen. I'll take back, and then I still have this queen a4 mate threat, which can't be stopped. Oh, let's see, f4, giving up another piece. Always interesting to watch the computer struggle. So now queen a4 can be met by rook to a8. Queen h4 met by rook to h3. But I have bishop takes g2 check now that he opened up this diagonal. And the king has no moves, so rook takes, queen takes is forced. So that's the mate. Cute. Always good to learn a new mating pattern. So queen c6, not such a bad idea. And then he played f3, defending against the immediate mate. And then queen c5 would have led to a mate in 6, it looks like. But then I noticed he was losing his queen with the move rook a8. So yeah, my opponent was just short on time after that long think, trying to where he lost the piece, trying to find a way out of it, and so he had to play the rest of the moves kind of quickly. And at this point, he was out of time, and he just resigned. But it's pretty hopeless without his queen. So interesting game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave any comments you have in the section below, and I will see you again soon. Bye.